I request His Excellency Shri Akhilesh Mishra to enlighten us with his words.
Namaskar, my warm greetings to everyone from Dublin, Ireland. I must applaud ERDA, especially the chairman, Dr. R.K. Mishra ji, and President Dr. Ram Prahlad Chaudhary ji, for hosting this extremely important summit. The theme of the event is very important and very significant for the vision of Viksit Bharat. As a diplomat who has served for past 35 years in many countries, LDCs to most developed countries, all continents. When I think of Viksit Bharat vision, then it is very clear to me that as an ancient civilizational state, India has to evolve its own unique concept of national development. What constitutes Vikas? And it cannot be merely described in terms of macroeconomic indicators. We have seen many Western countries with very high level of prosperity and technological advancements. They are heading towards a kind of crisis at human and societal level. Depression, drugs, divorce, intolerance spreading there like cancer. Not only the concept of development, concept of Viksit Bharat, but also we will have to create our own path to Viksit Bharat. We cannot simply develop by blindly copying or replicating the industrialization models of the European countries, USA or China. Firstly, it is our own self-interest because India is probably one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change and its direct and indirect impact on the life and well-being of the people. We have so high population density and we are acutely vulnerable to variety of climate related challenges. Secondly, still while we are we are the fastest growing G20 economy and one of the largest economies, but still we have a very large population of our people still below or at the border of the poverty line. So as a whole, our per capita income is low, our energy consumption is low, our manufacturing level is low. So there is no doubt that we have huge amount of development catch up to do. So given the scale of transformation that is happening in India, if we are able to develop a new paradigm, it can be very significantly impactful for not only our own country but also for the rest of the world. And also, it can serve as a template for other developing countries. We, as a nation, need a sui generis, homegrown, innovative developmental solutions which are sustainable, which are ecologically friendly, and feasible in a pluralistic democratic polity, and also affordable to masses. And this cannot be achieved by blindly copying Macaulay or Adam Smith or Karl Marx or Mao. The edifice of Viksit Bharat can only be built on the foundation of the Indian knowledge tradition, which enabled us to thrive as a glorious, prosperous, sophisticated civilization for several thousand years and also helped us survive despite constant onslaught of foreign attacks and invasions and occupations. By Indian knowledge tradition, I'm not referring to the sector specific knowledge of science and technology, metallurgy, mathematics, construction, space, astronomy, or healthcare that existed in the ancient Indian people. To me, the most important aspect of Indian knowledge tradition is not the content per se, but the very distinctive essential ethos of quest of knowledge. How did the people of India, our sages, view knowledge? And how did they unify Gyan and Vigyan? I wish to flag two distinctive features of Indian knowledge tradition. First is India, the Western so-called modern scientific approach to knowledge is very self-centric, egoistic. It believes that you trust and verify with your own eyes. Whereas the Indian way of knowing things is based on acute realization of the fundamental limitations of our eyes and senses. Besides their physical limitations, they are extroverted, bahirmukhi. They can't be, and this defect of extrovert nature of our eyes and senses cannot be rectified by use of powerful microscopes or telescopes. So knowledge beyond what can be grasped by eyes and senses or even mind has occupied a much higher degree of attention by our sages. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, no mano. To see, to realize, to grasp where our eyes can't go, where our speech can't go, our mind even can't go. So Indian sages perfected a cognition, a very interesting technique of cognition and knowing and developing consciousness through meditation, through contemplation, seeing with closed eyes, avritta chakshusha, senses turned inwards. Second distinctive feature of Indian knowledge system is that Indian way is inherently holistic, inherently integrated and multidisciplinary, following complex systems methodology. In the Western science, physics, chemistry, biology, ecology, politics, environmental science, psychology, we all have studied them as separate subjects, completely disjointed, disconnected. Only lately we are studying kind of interdisciplinary and complex system methodologies being adopted to study of these sciences. Our rishis, in fact, very, very severely condemned that narrowness of approach, small-mindedness, and segmented approach to seeing things. They declared, yet alpam tan martyam, is this pettiness, this smallness is death. Nalpe sukhamasti, that pettiness will never give you happiness. The Western science, this segmented, compartmentalized approach of the Western science has played havoc with the humankind, creating conflicts between man versus nature, man versus society, man versus women, and conflict within the human mind. Almost everything which was hailed as great discovery turned out within a few decades to be a disaster. Whether it's a coal or diesel fired engines or insecticides or plastics or genetically modified crops, all of them have caused more damage in retrospect than they have done good. And this ad hocism, this short termism, is condemned by our sages, because they caution us that things at times appear very nice, very sweet, very pleasant in the beginning, but they have a long-term disastrous consequences. Yet the dagre amritu upamam pariname vishameva, which seems like a nectar in the beginning to taste, but its consequences like a poison. Also, our sages saw the knowledge, the entire knowledge, as one single entity. Their focus was knowing which everything becomes known. Yah ekam janati sa sarvam janati. Yah sarvam janati sa ekam janati. And there is a very beautiful imagery of urdhamulam adha shakham ashwatham prahuravyayam, a very ancient tree which has roots above and branches coming down in a countless, infinite manner, branches downwards. So the primordial tree with roots above and infinite branches hanging below, that is the conception of knowledge in India. That there are different sectors of knowledge, but ultimately every sector, every branch of knowledge is unified. The concept of dharma in India unifies and harmonizes all branches, all areas of human knowledge and pursuits and all human social activities. धर्मात् अर्थः प्रभवति धर्मात् प्रभवते सुखम धर्मेण लभते सर्वम धर्म सारमिदम जगत. So not excluding anything, including everything in a very harmonized manner. The most distinct, most impactful consequence of this vision of Indian knowledge tradition is how we view nature. The unique understanding of relationship between human being and the nature is a kind of defining feature of Indian thought. It has never been man versus nature, not even man and nature, but man as an integral part of the nature. Vishwam Bhavatyeka Needam. This whole cosmic existence is one single body or one single nest. So we have to use resources available in our neighborhood, our environment. We are entirely dependent on neighborhood for food, for energy, for developmental activities. So we have to take them, but take them with sense of gratitude, take them with sense of reverence, without any desire to control, to dominate, to exploit, and never ever with any intention of causing permanent damage. And same linkage between the nature and the human being is also reflected in our conception of body itself. The deep harmonious linkage, there is a continuum between the nature outside and the inner world. The same Panchabhuta and same Triguna which operate outside, they also govern us within. So the human health care is always viewed in conjunction with the natural environment. The body itself is viewed as a complex system. Recognizing the deep linkage between the gross physical body and the subtle mind and the intellect, man and buddhi and atma, and the technique of controlling bodily diseases and senses through mind, through buddhi. We have seen how the allopathic treatment tending to cure symptoms rather than the fuller understanding of the causes has led to many more problems in the body while trying to solve one. Friends, sustainable future is not just about preparing to mitigate the impact of climate change or reducing the carbon footprint or use of greener energy. As we have seen during corona pandemic, we are far more vulnerable to even non-climatic disasters and disruptions, natural or man-made. The sustainable future also demand inbuilt resilience to variety of shocks and disturbances. The resilience of our information systems, our healthcare infrastructure, our food and energy supplies, the security and redundancy of our transportation and communication links, they are all very important constituents of planning for a sustainable future. In a globalized economy, some degree of de-risking of our trade lines and also contingency planning in this regard is also a must. Considering the extremely challenging security environment that India has, the post-corona notion of what constitutes a strategic interest for India has also drastically changed. So this also has to be factored into our planning for a sustainable future. Creating a sustainable future, Viksit Bharat, is not just the government's responsibility, but every individual's collective duty. The role of industry is very important because, as Honorable Prime Minister has given us the wake-up call of a vocal for local, make in India, these are not political slogans or diplomatic uh, catchphrases, but indeed a wake-up call for the nation to gear up for future contingencies. Not only the existing trade deficit is unsustainable, it needs to change for our collective national well-being and sustainable development because we are getting into some kind of strategic dependencies through trade imbalance. Also, our trade has to develop greater resilience to cope with future disruptions. As industry, we need to prioritize local use of local resources, local talent, and local human creativity. Academia has a very, very important role as inheritors of an inherently contemplative, inherently interdisciplinary and complex system approach in our knowledge tradition. India should be the pioneer in developing interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary studies. The AI, therefore, presents a unique opportunity for India to grow and be the leader. Secondly, there is a greater need to integrate the university and academia with the society and industry. It is happening, but it needs to happen faster. I believe every university should undertake in-depth studies for local society, local economy, and anticipate emerging challenges and be solution providers. Universities must be brain trust of local community and local economy. Similarly, academia has a huge role to play in supporting one district, one product vision, and also creating new designs, new products based on the traditional skills, and also tremendously help in marketing of those products, besides nurturing local art and creative industries. The public at large has highest responsibility because our power lies in numbers. As consumers, we should prioritize local products, buy local, buy Indian. As parents, it is incumbent on us to inculcate the values inherent in Indian knowledge tradition, critical thinking, interdisciplinary thinking, inclusive approach to planning and thinking, respect for others, society, and nature. And this training of children has to start as early as possible. This consciousness towards mutual respect, mutual tolerance, and respect for nature has to start at the earliest. The mission life, the lifestyle for environment, sustainable lifestyle is again a very important initiative of Prime Minister Modi, in which every individual has a role to play. If 1.4 billion people adopt a eco-friendly lifestyle and avoid waste and develop a habit of sustainable way of life, it can make huge impact, not only for our own sustainability, but also a global impact. Eventually, it is every individual's responsibility because we can pretend, we can close our eyes like an ostrich in the sand, but we cannot escape the consequences of our actions. Karata hi sab bhokta syat karmanastu phalam dhruvam अवश्यमेव भोक्तव्यम कृतम कर्म शुभाशुभम कृत कर्म क्षयो नास्ति kalpa koti shatairapi. The damage that we cause to nature today, we may pretend, we may trade carbon, but the consequences remain with us for all times to come. So we have to be conscious all the time. Once again, I must thank ERDA for hosting this excellent summit and a very, very important discussion, productive discussion. Thank you so much.
really grateful